jaw when a stranger pulled up. I met him outside his barn. Said, sir, I don't know if you ever will.
Episode 3. So this is a little on the way home shoot. I survived another day at work. Got some stuff done with some traffic sensors and met with the contractor working on a big project downtown. They're installing a bunch of new infrastructure that I'm going to inherit when they're done. Trying to coordinate all that, trying to coordinate some summer work with Public Works Department, road crews and whatnot, and how that affects the traffic lights. So anyways, let's get right into it. Episode 3 is going to be the backstory of how a little small town country boy from northern New York goes from high school to kind of being like a small department supervisor, being responsible for substation maintenance, traffic light maintenance for an entire town or village. Graduated high school in 2005, went to SUNY Canton for automotive technology 2005 to 2007. That was a big change. I initially was set course all through high school to be an engineer. I was set on following in some family members' footsteps on being an engineer, and I visited 3 colleges: Clarkson, RIT, and Alfred State. Sat on the back steps at Alfred State, cried, kind of had a moment, and said, I can't do this. It's not what I want to do. My grades were close to making it work, mathematically, and I'd really like to go into the automotive industry, which at the time my family supported me and thought I was slightly crazy, but they supported me and they let me make that change, and I decided to go get a 2-year degree at a state school, Canton, which I did. Finished that program, graduated second in my class in 2007. Spent time there, second year as the club president for the automotive club. That helped me a lot with my public speaking, having to be a club officer. I had spent a lot of time in politics. There was some time through college where I ran a council campaign for a local councilman seat. We started to run a campaign to meet a lot of people, and that helped me with some public speaking and learning the aspects of government. Kind of how, I guess, just real quickly, how certain adults or how adults work together, communicate together, how government works, just seeing different parts of life. Sometimes it's harmony, sometimes it's not. Learning when to put your foot on the gas kind of came from that, or learning when to maybe say, hey, no, I don't stand for that. Seeing people stand up for their beliefs, and everybody just not necessarily agreeing all the time. Some of that give and take. So we graduated 2007, and I came home. No intention of staying here in northern New York at all. I was planning on moving to the Carolinas, and I was going to build in hot rods. I've never done that, so that didn't work out. It didn't work out for good reasons, though. I got a job working at UPS and package handling, loading trucks in the morning. I had worked summers through college and through high school at the local Public Works Department. That's key to my career today. And I got into that. I got into that summer job as a kid. I was working at a gas station, and I wanted Saturdays off so I could race dirt bikes, because I raced motocross at the time. So I lived with my mom during the week, and I went to a place called One Work Source, which was a placement agency for work, and they didn't know what to do with like a 15-year-old kid who rode up on a bicycle. Most people went there because they needed to find actual work, and they sent me upstairs to a guy named Joe, and I told him my spiel. I was looking for work, and that was my first stop, and I could ride there on my bike. Step 1, go out and do it, right? Go out and try to make that opportunity for city recreation, and there's another opportunity for the city public works department mowing grass, mowing lawns, running a lawnmower. Something you'd be interested in all summer. 7 to 3, 5 days a week. I'll take it. Signed up. That's how I ended up as a city employee. He said, there's one catch. You got to go to the mayor's office. Tell him why you want the job. I rode my bike over to City Hall. I walked in. Secretary said, yeah, give him a minute. I sat down in the mayor's office, gave him my spiel, told him I was a hard worker, told him I wanted a job. And apparently he placed a phone call after that because, like most political jobs, most city jobs, you don't get a job unless you know somebody, and I didn't really know anybody. So, by default, by just being there, by just taking advantage of the opportunity and follow those directions, I get a job as a temporary worker, which in the back half of my career became very important. So I worked for a private dealership. I worked for myself. I've been working for myself on and off since I was about 15, moonlighting as a mechanic, turning wrenches for people, fixing cars. And I worked at a dealership in town, Chevy dealership, for a while. Worked on the side. And then an old friend of mine from when I worked at the city, at Public Works, calls me and says, hey, they're going to post a mechanic helper position. You should apply for it. Actually, they're posting a mechanic's position, so I applied for it. I didn't get that. And shortly after, they posted a mechanic helper position, which I applied for and I got it. So I started the city as a mechanic helper. And I worked a couple years, and then they made me a mechanic, right? And then I worked 3 or 4 more years, and I was 3/4 of the way up the pay scale. Still working for myself the whole time. We actually opened the shop basically as like a second part-time, full-time job on the side. So I'm turning wrenches, working at the city as a mechanic, working for myself at night, in the evenings as a mechanic. And then I met my wife, we're dating, and I heard that our lighting department, electric department, was putting out for the lineman helper test. And I'd met some of those guys, in passing, just naturally, right? You work in a village or a city, and you get to know people in other departments. And they said, hey, you should take the test. Just so you're on the list, you never know. It gives you an option. And I think these guys are crazy, right? They work with high voltage power, high voltage electricity. And really didn't have an interest in it. One guy said, you think you can go in the air in a bucket truck? I said, yeah, I don't mind heights. He goes, you should really take the test. The rest of it, obviously they'll train you, you'll learn it. You're a smart kid. Thank you, I appreciate that. So, I take the line helper test, I score well, and I get a phone call for an interview. I've been with the city for about 5 years at this point, 5.5. And I take the interview and I get a job. Well, their pay scale was better, so it was a no-brainer for me. My starting pay was better. I got out of where I was out of room to grow, and I went to the electric department. And I was a line helper in the electric department for about 18 months to 2 years. And some goofy circumstances happened with some older guys. One had a medical issue and could no longer be our assistant electrician. That position opened up, and I was about the 4th one in line for that job. 3 guys turned it down. I don't want the extra work. I don't want the extra paperwork. I don't want all that overtime. It's a 2-man department, and there's a lot. I took the gig, assistant electrician. About a year later, my cohort retired, and I inherited the whole department, for which I worked another 2.5 or 3 years before I had enough time to jump into the title of electrician. Substation electrician's the title. And here you are today. I'm their sitting substation electrician. And it all stems from taking advantage of opportunities, some of them which I was nervous about. I work with high voltage electricity. I work with low voltage electricity. I work on traffic lights. I work in substations. I still do line work if I have to. I'm a qualified lineman. If they need me to do it, I can do it. And that was never, ever on the radar. When I walked across the stage in high school, doing do today was not on the radar. When I walked across the stage, graduated with honors at CAM from the automotive technology program, doing what I do today was not on the radar. But through a series of events, you know, electrical theory. I use my electrical theory from the automotive world a ton. DC power systems are big in substations. Same electrical theory, whether it's a 12 volt battery, a 48 volt battery bank, a 120 volt battery bank, it's all the same. That all applies, right? So all these things came together and opened up this opportunity in the trades that have been very good to me. And I have a 2-year degree. That 2-year degree was extremely inexpensive, in-state school. My student loans are paid off. Then all my temporary time went back. I got to buy that back. My 6 months credited me in the retirement system. So things are good, right? This whole entire avenue, I had no plans of staying here, right? This whole entire avenue worked out because of what I said I want to talk about in episode 1. Taking advantage of opportunities, working, don't get tired, and think you're not getting anywhere. There was a lot of nights I went to bed after working from 7 in the morning till 7 or 8 o'clock at night and said, man, I feel like I'm not gaining traction. I'm spending as much as I'm making. Because I started with my wife, she started with, we've made it happen. And I'm not going to say it's not a lot of work. It is a lot of work. And I hear there's a lot of hard-working young people, there's a lot of hard-working people out there. There's a lot of people, too, that I talk to that get discouraged. And it can be discouraging. You have to step back and think about how rewarding it is, though, to earn that prize, to earn all the things that come with that hard work and that success. Now, like I said, episode 1, I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy, but we have a house on a big spread of land that I don't have a huge mortgage on. 2 beautiful kids, a wife, I have a truck, a few cars that I may have never, ever been able to get to if certain things wouldn't transpire. I can think of almost a dozen opportunities where I could have said, that's not my work, that's not my job, I'm not going to get into that and try that. And I've failed at some things. I've done some things successfully, I've done some things that failed, I've done some things that done mediocre, right? That's all part of it. Nobody successful got successful on the first try. I'm not the first person to say that. I'm not going to claim the fame on any of that. But that's the backstory. The backstory of how sometimes when you look back, it seems like things were just meant to work out. And hard work does pay off. And I can tell you for a matter of fact, it did not feel like that in the moment all the time. You know, Warren Buffett says invest in something, good business, good company that makes money, and don't look back, right? You are investing your time in life. Invest it in something, work hard, and apply yourself, and it will pay you back. And don't think it's not coming, it will. But you have to let it take time, and patience is a virtue, and it can be hard. But it can happen. And it can happen to anybody if it happened to me. Right? So, that's the backstory. And a little bit of the hook on why I want to do this channel. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon, because it's afternoon here. You could be seeing this in the morning, so maybe have a great morning, have a great midday. You can't sleep and you're up watching me babble. I hope you can get to sleep and have a great night or a great day tomorrow. We'll see you maybe tomorrow morning. And if not, maybe tomorrow afternoon. And we'll do episode 4. And at some point I'm going to get these videos all posted, because this is still